Hello, World History. This is day 28. This is 28b, and talking about how Martin Luther, 1517 is his most famous year, but he was active throughout the early 1500s. And he would read Plato and Aristotle and write about his thoughts on them, because, of course, this Greek philosophy influenced other times in history, including later on in Europe, when there was the Renaissance and the Reformation. So to kind of jump ahead, and because we're also a Lutheran high school, so we get some of our theological understanding from Luther's wrestling with God and with what is true, what is real. So let's look at one of Martin Luther's quotes kind of about this music, and this is him reading Plato and Aristotle as well. Martin Luther says, "We do not marvel at the countless other gifts of creation, for we have become deaf toward what Pythagoras," there's that Pythagoras, "aptly terms this wonderful and most lovely music, coming from the harmony of the motions that are in the celestial spheres." And in case you're like, what are they talking about? Well, Pythagoras was predicting things that now, through our scientific equipment, we can listen to the sounds that stars give off. They give off these pulsar sounds, and we can listen to the sounds that the whale gives off deep in the ocean. And Pythagoras is predicting, and Martin Luther is saying, is it possible that this chorus of people on the earth and fish in the sea and the heavenly bodies that God made to light the sky, that together we're all worshiping God with our sound, and it's this music of praising God? Plato held that music does have a powerful impact on the soul. And Luther, kind of along these lines, said, have children study not only languages and history, but also singing and music. The ancient Greeks, there they are again, trained their children, and they were fit for anything. Luther said that. And again, Luther reflecting on Plato, this is later in 1538, Martin Luther writes, "Looking at music itself, you will find that from the beginning of the world, it has been instilled and implemented in all creatures, individually and collectively, for nothing is without sound or harmony." That's Luther 1538. So Aristotle, these are some of Aristotle's thoughts. Aristotle did not agree. So Aristotle was a student of Plato, and he disagreed with his teacher, which is okay to do. Good teacher-student relationships allow mutual respect and listening and asking questions and not coming to the same conclusion necessarily. So there needs to be a respect without having to come to the same conclusion at the end. Aristotle respectfully disagreed with Plato's belief that the heavenly spheres produce musical tones. How Luther feels about Aristotle, well, he called his book Ethics bad and inimical to grace. Luther was not always respectful with people that he disagreed with. That was one of his, I would say, faults. Luther in 1518 says the universities need a good, stiff reform. This study that they're doing right now wastes time and burdens the soul, but I would gladly allow Aristotle's books on logic, rhetoric, and poetics to be kept. So he didn't like Aristotle's version of ethics, which is kind of talking about we are good or bad based on what we produce, where, grace is really big for Luther. So we're not made right or holy or important by the actions that we do. They matter to people, but we're made right by this gift from God. And even if we were invalid in bed, we could still glorify God there. Academia in the AD. So this is kind of the path of how things went. Eventually, religion and other, quote, intellectual fields, such as philosophy and math, became dominated by Platonic thought. To the question, can you prove that God exists? A Platonist would respond with a philosophical argument. So someone who follows the teachings of Plato would use words to try to prove that God exists. Science, on the other hand, has been dominated by Aristotelian thought. And if you ask an Aristotelian, can you prove that God exists? A person who respects Aristotle more would respond with a demonstration of the existence of God. So they would want to see actions of God and actions of people. An Aristotelian would really want to see those good works. They're both important. It's good to have the right doctrine, if you will, the right sound ideas and reasons. for things, and also good to have good actions.